FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Our bedroom door has a lock, and most nights we remember to use it. We've cleared out the nightstand, bought a box with a key for the things we don't want them to see or show their friends. I've never been a fan of John Cleland, author of Fanny Hill, and the joy of sex is passé. There are plenty of salacious books on our shelves, but I figure once the kids can make it through the rest of a novel by Nicholson Baker or Bret Easton Ellis, they're entitled to enjoy the sexy parts. I can handle all that. The other is far more complicated. Better parents than we might manage rage in whispers, but to me the very nature of an argument lies in the fact that it is uncontrollable. An argument that can be muffled or silenced can just as easily be avoided. Anyway, given the keen ears of my daughter and the apparent paucity of insulation in the walls of our house, controlling the volume probably wouldn't make much of a difference. If I were a better mother or a different kind of person, I might determine never to argue with my husband again. But the chances of that vow actually being realized are about as good as the chances of Dick Cheney or Sarah Palin being elected mayor of Berkeley. As a perhaps paltry substitute, Michael and I make sure that if the children hear us fight, they also hear us make up. They witness not just the bitter words, but the contrite ones. In their turn, they'll probably fight with their spouses, but they'll also be adept at the heartfelt apology. None of us have any choice but to live with the way in which our children are making sense of the adult world, no matter how uncomfortable it makes us. What goes around, after all, always ends up coming around. Karma, baby. It surely would have made my own parents uncomfortable had they known about my childhood snooping through their drawers and closets. Oh, yes. Oh, my God, you wouldn't believe what I found there. Just, like, stunning. Stunning. The electronic equipment, they're not here, so I can say, the quantity of electronic equipment boggles the mind. It's like, how many vibrators can one person use? Turns out many.
How many?
I think something like 6. And one of them was shaped like a huge finger. It was so hideous. That was like, it took me a long time to get over that. Like, it took many visits to Good Vibrations before I stopped, like, you know, looking at the finger. Must have been a joke present. As I recall, it was still in the box. But back in those days, we didn't talk about such things. I kept my own counsel, drew my own conclusions. I never would have dared to cheerfully confess my eavesdropping over fried chicken and biscuit. Perhaps that's something to be grateful for. Because my own children feel no self-consciousness about their nosiness, at least I am warned. My children have put me on notice. They have advised me of their intention, like mine before them, like that of all children, to latch onto tales and examples of conflict, despair, misery, and sadness in order to learn what it is like to be a grown-up. This is what it has always meant to be a child. Such dark stuff is the very currency of children's literature and fairy tales. It's just like when they ignore our calm and pleasant conversation but tune us in when we bicker. When we read, for example, the Norse myths, they stifle a yawn at the sun dawning over the green and lovely new earth, but sit up, eyes bright and fascinated, at the parts about Nidhogg, the dragon of destruction, or the hag with many heads. What is more delightfully grim and terrifying, after all, than the Grimm's version of Cinderella, the one my children like best, complete with hacked-off toes and birds pecking out the stepsister's eyes? I could try to present a Walt Disney version of my marriage, all happily ever afters, but they would neither be interested in it nor believe it. So now that I know that they are listening at our door and rifling through our drawers, hoping we won't clean up our act, what will we do? Nothing different beyond that locked box, I suppose. We'll just continue the show.